Good morning. Welcome to Financially Speaking. I'm your host, Drexwell Seymour. It's such a pleasure to be here today. Another Tuesday, another day here in the beautiful Turks and Caicos Islands. So today we're going to talk about the upcoming Turks and Caicos Business Outlook conference that will be taking place on Friday at the Palms Resort. This will be the second year that this conference will be taking place. Last year I was pretty much involved. This year I took a back stage, but last year I was pretty much involved, and I think it's important to have these type of conversations, these types of dialogue with the public, and so I'm encouraging people to sign up, register for the conference, to hear what's happening here in the Turks and Caicos Islands. We're going to hear from, the premier is not there. I understand the acting premier will be there. We're going to hear from the tourism industry, utilities, telecommunications, the health industry. And I think it's very important for us to know what's happening in Turks and Caicos. Sometimes we don't know what's going on. So our governments, I think, are very silent. You don't hear much from them, and so when you have these type of conferences, you would have them there, and then you get to know things that you probably never even heard before. And so I encourage you to sign up. You go on the Facebook page and look for it and sign up for the Turks and Caicos Business Outlook. So what I did, I interviewed the organizer for I'm not an organizer, I'm not associated with it, but I think it's important to also bring, information to you so you can become involved. So I interviewed the organizer of this Outlook conference, and I want you to bear with us for a few minutes to hear the discussion, and then I'll come back to you after that. Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy today to have as my guest Joan Albury. I hope I pronounced the name properly.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I just want to welcome you to the show. And this will be the second time now that we'll have the Turks and Caicos Business Outlook here in the Turks and Caicos Islands. Joan is the coordinator. And so I want to welcome to the show. We'll talk more about the upcoming show. And with that said, I want to welcome you. Hello, Joan.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm really looking forward to it. And we will be in Turks and Caicos next Thursday, and our outlook happens on Friday the 13th. And we are really doing this because we believe that it's very important for people to know what is projected to happen in their country so that they themselves can take advantage of these opportunities. If you're an investor, for example, you will want to know, where is it that I can, where can I make the best investments? And if you're a parent, you want to know, where are the career opportunities for my children? And what is the future like? So this business outlook provides ideas for persons from all walks of life, whichever path they're on. And the idea too is to help to make people accountable. Like if you come to our outlook and you say something, then next year we will like to hear from you again, or to hear from your counterpart as to what has been achieved. We've had occasions when presentations, speeches have been made in Parliament, and they quote from Business Outlook.
Right, right.
Just by way of background, we have been doing the Business Outlook in the Bahamas for the past 33 years, and we're in 8 islands. And while we've just held our first in Providenciales last year, we see the same opportunities with the Turks and Caicos because of the many islands. We see the opportunity where we will focus on South Caicos sometime, where we will look at the other islands and see what is going on. And Drexel, this is why we have as our theme inclusive, prioritizing inclusive,
Hmm.
sustainable growth.
Hmm.
Because, you know, Turks and Caicos, similar to the Bahamas, there are many islands, and you need to make sure that you're including all the opportunities for all of the islanders, right?
Right.
Connectivity, for
Hmm.
example,
Hmm.
connectivity is essential. So, for a government, when they're making their policies or designing their programs, for example, they need to make sure that there is all islands are considered, not just the main island. So our theme for this outlook is prioritizing inclusive, sustainable growth.
Oh,
And
okay.
we are honored really to have had Premier Missick agree to be our keynote speaker again, as he did last time. However, I understand that he's gone to, he's out of the country. And so the acting premier, Jamil Robinson, who spoke at last year's event, is going to deliver the keynote address.
Oh, okay. Oh,
And
okay. Jamal.
that's
Yeah. Hmm.
Jamel Robinson,
Jamal.
the Honorable
Hmm.
Jamel. And so, and when we talk about accountability. And last year, Honorable Robinson spoke about housing and infrastructure. And so a year later, we are going to ask the question, the programs, the initiatives, the projects, the infrastructure, um, has it improved? Is what was said
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah.
So,
What is there something
yeah,
we can measure it by? Yeah.
right. So, and then we know that housing and infrastructure are remain issues,
Hmm.
challenges,
Yeah.
right? We know that the economy is growing,
Yeah.
right? But is the investment in infrastructure and in social and other like education and in health, is the investment happening in these sectors of the economy?
Hmm.
So with our outlook, we address all of these issues.
Right.
So after we hear from the Honorable Robinson, the acting premier, we will hear from Dr. Darren Hall, who is a medical director in family care medical services, and
Yes.
he's
I know
going
Darren
to.
really well. Hmm.
So I'm sure you know what he will talk about. But again, the idea is that sure, the economy is growing, but are we investing in healthcare?
Yeah, that's a good topic to have because we continue to spend a lot of money sending persons abroad
Right.
when we need to see what can be done here locally. The government's spending millions of dollars sending persons abroad. So I'm looking forward to hearing the perspective from Dr. Hall at this upcoming conference.
Right. And then we know that we're all now very much in a digital space,
Yes.
right? So focus on digitization. And so it is our honor to have the Honorable Erwin Saunders, who's
Oh,
the Minister
EJ.
of
Yes.
Innovation,
Hmm.
Technology, and Information, uh,
Hmm.
talking about enhancing digital technology,
Yeah.
you health records and um, the internet and
Yeah.
AI, all of these
Yeah. And
talk,
the digitalization. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
under digitization. And
Mm.
so we were, we have to have the minister speak to that issue. And then coming from the Bahamas, we have Dennis DeVoe, who's with Doctors Hospital. And Doctors Hospital, they spoke last year, and they have a
Yeah. Is this the
relationship.
same gentleman who spoke last year?
Yeah,
Oh.
Dennis.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis, he's the CFO for Doctors Hospital. He's uh, there's a relationship with TCI and Doctors Hospital and with TCI and our government. So Dennis is going to be talking about prioritizing inclusive, sustainable health services. And no doubt he will share what Doctors Hospital is doing in the Bahamas and what Doctors Hospital would wish to
Mm-hmm.
do with
So
with
is our Minister of Health going to be there?
he's invited, but he's not speaking.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, but he's not speaking. So hopefully, um, from the private sector, we'll get a view as to what is going on.
Okay.
Um, and then we have the Minister of Tourism, who is a new minister, um,
Yes.
Zhivago Jolly.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he's speaking to the same theme, but from the tourism perspective,
Okay.
prioritizing inclusive, sustainable growth for the tourism sector.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an initiative that is called the Tourism Development Cooperation, and that's in the Bahamas. It's headed by Ian Ferguson. It's very similar to what Stacey Cox
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
is responsible for in TCI. Um, she had indicated that she is going to be out of town. So we've asked Ian from the Bahamas to talk to what the Bahamian example is like, which is the transforming. Well, this topic is really transformative growth in the tourism sector, and this is where there's what we call there's a lot of financial lending being given to entrepreneurs. It's really about strengthening the linkages with tourism and the other sectors,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
agriculture, like fishing, like developing entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And so Ian is going to talk about the Bahamas model and how what the opportunities and the
Oh,
challenges
okay. So
are.
maybe we could see what lessons or examples we can learn from what's happening in the Bahamas.
Right, right. We had hoped that Stacy would have, uh, because she spoke last year,
She
and
did.
we
Mm-hmm.
wanted to bring the two
Mm-hmm.
together. But maybe by Friday things might change. But we have Ian in place, and then from the banking sector, we're talking about the ease of doing business.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right topic. If it is,
It is
um,
it's a
it,
right and it's very much relevant.
right. So we're going to have CIBC and Scotiabank.
Who
They're
do
going.
you have from there?
We have Terrence Gibson.
Oh, okay.
He is the country manager.
I think he was there. Didn't he speak
Yeah,
last
he
week?
was. Yes, yes,
Hmm.
yes. So we'll see what has happened within the past year, and what are the challenges, and what are the promises that they're making to
Hmm.
the banking community, and also Nima Barker. I don't know. Do you know her? She's the director of retail banking for Scotiabank
Not sure.
regionally. Yeah. Well, she's going to be speaking on the
Okay.
ease of doing business. So those two major banks will
Yeah.
be uh, will be taking part. And
Okay.
from the telecommunications sector, we have Kenva Williams.
Oh,
He's,
okay. He's the director.
he's the
Hmm.
director. And then our final session will be on real estate. And I don't know if real estate in TCI is is like in the Bahamas, but it seems like everybody is becoming a real estate agent. It's really the sector is really
Well, let me just pause. Let me just say there. I mean, it's a big industry, and prior to the election, the government just also where they encourage where they passed the legislation actually that only persons with Turks and Caicos Island status could be real estate agents.
okay, okay. Um, and so we have and Mrs. Andrews. She's from White Rock Realty.
Yes, I know Ms. Andrews. Hmm.
Yeah, she's going to be talking about overcoming obstacles, seizing opportunities in real estate.
Okay.
And then I guess one of our other keynote speakers is really going to be Arlington Chuck Musgrove,
Oh, the Minister of
Minister of
Planning and
Physical Planning
Infrastructure.
and Infrastructure. And
Okay.
so he's going to talk about solutions for affordable housing. Now, we know that there's a housing crisis.
Absolutely.
And so this was addressed by the Honorable Robinson last year.
Yeah, he
Uh,
was the minister at that time, but
right.
now,
So
mhm.
um, he talked about a number of issues and laid out the government's, what would be the government's policy. And at that time, he mentioned if reelected, we are going to be doing this. And of course, there was, lots of smiles. And so now the government has been reelected. So our audience is really looking forward now to seeing what is going to be the policies and what is going to be happening in and what are the solutions really
Yeah,
to this housing crisis.
yeah,
So I think we will touch on the major challenges, the opportunities that there are, and to encourage uh, we want to encourage people to network. It's an opportunity where we will have these movers and shakers, these people of influence in the same room. And so again, it's really an opportunity to find out what are the plans for the next 12 months
right.
and how
And
do we take advantage of them.
yeah. And can you tell us again about this event? Where is the event going to be held? And how can someone, what do we have to do to register at the event? I mean, you have a very good lineup. There's only one more issue I think we could have addressed in this at this outlook is the cost of living. I think that's a very critical is a
Okay.
very critical thing that people complain about on a daily basis here.
Okay. So I think, thank you for that. Um, and we're missing you. Last year, you were very much
Yes,
involved.
I
Um,
was. Hmm.
so, but thank you for that. But um, I will certainly bring it up with the Honorable, the acting premier, and see if he would really, in his presentation, speak to that issue because I'm sure the
Okay, that'll
government.
be great. That'll be great.
Thank you. So people can register at tclevents.com. So that's tclevents.com. And the event is going to take place at the Palms, and we will begin at 8:45. And we just encourage people to attend. It's going to be dynamic, and you get to hear what the plans are for the next 12
Mm.
months.
And the day is, and tell me the day again of the event.
Friday, Friday, the 13th, next
Friday the
Friday.
13th, and it's
Friday,
just a 1 day event.
one day, and we go until around 2 o'clock. There's lunch, there's a coffee break. It's a full, it's a, I guess, really packed event.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, the lineup, as I say, is pretty good. And I mean, I'm looking forward to see, I haven't registered yet, but I will. I'm looking forward to seeing what some of the speakers can say have progressed from last year, because some of the speakers you have on, they were there last year as well. So it'll be
Right,
great to see if they could share some testimonies of what have taken place.
right.
Yeah.
I will certainly ask them too.
Yeah.
So we're still in dialogue. We have, today? We're 1 week away, and so we are really looking forward to being back again in TCI, and looking forward to seeing you, and looking forward to a full house.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it as well. And I think it's important for us to know what is going on in the country. And I think having an event like this is good because, I don't know about the Bahamas, but I know in Turks and Caicos, there is a breakdown in communication sometimes from our government. We don't know what's going on sometimes.
Right,
There's a lack of communication or no
right,
communication. So hopefully this event will, bring to light some things that are taking place as well.
right. And that's the idea. The communication is extremely important, and the accountability as well.
Yeah,
So um, it's exciting.
yeah. Do you have anything else you want to share that you think we haven't covered? Do you have anything else you want to say?
Well, I mean, I just congratulate TCI on the growth,
Yeah,
the growth that's taking place. I think now it's a matter of how are we managing? How
yeah,
do we manage this growth? And are the other sectors
yeah,
benefiting? And who is benefiting from the growth?
yeah,
We need those are the questions, or the
yeah.
issues, is how do we manage this growth, and how do we make sure that it's to the maximum benefit of Turks Islanders, that
All
that
right.
is that is the key.
I'm glad you brought that because ironically, I wrote, I write articles every week. And ironically, my article for this week is how do we manage our successes and tackle our challenges? So, I
Right.
mean, and you cover some of our challenges already. So it's very interesting you talk about managing growth because that's part of my article for this week in the Turks and Caicos Sun newspaper.
Mhm. Right. Thank you. Well, you have to share your article with me. I look forward to seeing it. So,
Sure, definitely. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Joan, and we look forward to seeing you at this upcoming um, event. All right.
thank you. Thank you very much, and see you on Friday.
Yes. Yes.
Appreciate.
Okay. So that was the coordinator for the Turks and Caicos Business Outlook, and that was pre-recorded. I'm live now, but that was pre-recorded, and so you'll hear it say within a week. The event is actually this Friday, June 13th. This Friday, June 13th, at the Palms Resort, and so they'll be arriving this week. So I know the interview might have said upcoming, but it's this way. I just want to clarify that with you. And so I think you have an idea now what is happening at the conference, the different areas that I think is a great lineup. And I think it's important for us to, not just have these conferences, but to measure the success of these conferences. Because every year, we could have these type of conferences and we get hype up, and then it goes by and nothing happens. And so the fact that there's a second conference, so hopefully, and some of the same speakers from the prior year, some of the same establishments. So the good thing about this is that we could now question and bring to light the things that were mentioned last year by our parliamentarians and by the private sector. You mentioned this last year. Okay, we're now in the new year. What is happening? We want to hear from the banks. You know, the banks play a very, very critical part in our society. You know, everybody banks. I mean, well, most people, there's still a portion of the population that is unbanked. But most people bank in our country. And we want to hear from the banking industry what it is that they are doing to improve the services in the Turks and Caicos Islands. What platforms are they putting in place to improve the services? They say they want to be digital, but we still see the lines are very long here in Provo. I cannot speak for the bank in Grand Turk, but in Provo, the lines are still long at both banks, particularly CIBC, very, very long. What we want to hear from, and when you go to these events, what we want you to do is to not to remain quiet, but to speak up. There is a session for questions and answers. This is your opportunity to ask questions to these presenters. And the bank is there, and people are tired of standing in the bank lines long. We're not only tired of standing in the bank lines long, we are tired of going to the ATM machines. And when you you stand the line so long, or you're in the drive-through, and then I remember I went to the drive-through to Scotia this time, and I was in the line very long. And you pull up to the drive-through, and you can't make a deposit. And that is one thing that I don't understand. What is happening with the banking industry in Turks and Caicos Islands? I don't know how they're being held accountable. I don't know how they get all these awards, but that is something that we need to understand why. They want us to use the services. They don't want businesses to make deposits. They want you to use the drop box. You put the money in the drop box, and then the deposit is not on your account next day or 2 days later. Sometimes you don't get the deposit on your account until 5 days later, sometimes a week later, sometimes more than a week. And that is something that we need to understand what it is that the banking industry is going to do to improve the services in our country. And so when they come on stage on Friday, when they ask for questions, you need to ask questions. Critical questions, okay? Because this is not appealing. In fact, this is unacceptable for this time in 2025 to be having banking services in Turks and Caicos like this. We inviting people to come to this country. We say we are the bread and butter. We say we are the end of the Caribbean. We say that we are a high-end destination. We say we want to make everything digital, but we cannot depend on it. We cannot depend on it. And that is not a reflection of how we want to be. We must hold these individuals accountable for. We complain a lot about the government services, but there are some private sector services, just as the banking industry, is just as bad. We are putting our money into that account. They are charging us for services, and we're not getting the services we desire. You should not be standing in line. And I always wonder why the banks only have one branch. Scotia has one branch. CIBC has one branch. RBC, why? I can understand if we had a reliable digitized banking services. I can understand that you don't need to have physical structures because we have such a great service that you could go online and basically do anything. But that's not happening in Turks and Caicos. That is not happening in Turks and Caicos. And because it's not happening in Turks and Caicos, then we need to have more physical presence in Turks and Caicos. We need to have more ATMs that are operational. And that is something that I believe, I don't know, I know the FSC is the regulatory body, but we still have any elected officials, and that we need to put our feet down when it comes to dealing with the banks. The banks are getting away with murder because we are not holding these banks accountable. We are not holding them accountable, and it's just there, just like that. So that's the banking industry. The next item that they will be talking about at this conference is, of course, they said the Minister of Innovation, Honorable E.J. Saunders, will be a guest speaker. And now, and everybody know I love E.J. He's my friend and he's my cousin. But we want to see some action. And I know things do not happen overnight. And the government has been in power now since February 7th. Well, technically they've been in power since 2021. This is their second term now. And EJ now, this is a new Ministry of Innovation. And so I know it started off late. He didn't have his team with him. Okay, but now we are like 4 months now. The government budget has passed. We want to see some action taking place. We want to see big things happening in the innovation. We want to see big things happening digitally. Just like the banks, we still see long lines at the Treasury. Very long lines. And of course, this, as far as I know, we're not getting any stimulus, so they can't be getting stimulus. Lines are still long at the Treasury. That must be reduced. You must be able to go at the fingertip and be able to do those things to get things done. I see people complaining, I heard people complaining about going to one department where they're not taking credit cards, and so they have to get the paperwork and they gotta come back. They gotta come back to the Treasury to pay. That is unacceptable in this time. So I'm looking forward to see what the Ministry of Innovation will do to curtail these issues, because these issues are real. It is taking up a lot of our time, and time is money. The time that you spend in these lines, you could be doing something else. The time that you spend in this line, you're losing opportunities elsewhere. And it's not acceptable for us to have these long lines. I remember during the payment of business license, right? So what I find very strange, even with the business lines, the business license payment, what I find very strange, they encourage you to pay online, right? And I don't want to show up anybody, but I made payments. I made payments online, for business licenses. Because, after April 30th, right? After April 30th, you know that you get a penalty because business license expired March 31st, right? 31st of March. And so you have until April 30th to pay without the penalties, all right? So I paid online. And do you know, I paid online. And up until May, I didn't get a receipt. I had to call someone. I had to call my sister and granddaughter, who had to call somebody. And the person I normally deal with was on vacation. When she came back, she helped me out really, really well. And that is unacceptable. What is the point of telling you to make these payments online and then you're not? It would have been easy for me to stand in the line, but of course that's money, and because I'm not going to stand in line, we have a courier service who will do it for us. But of course there's a fee for that. But what I'm saying is, if you're offering the services, then let's deal with the services, and that's a problem I have. So I believe, if I could recall, I believe it was mentioned during the budget hearing that by June we should see an improvement in services. I'm quite sure. Is it the whole thing? I don't know. Or is it the registry where you can apply for birth certificates and all that stuff? But something supposed to be happening in June whereby the services could be expedited. And this is something that we really need, and I'm looking forward. I know it can be done. It was done with the police records department. We can now get our police records within the same day, within a couple of hours, and it can be done. So I have a lot of confidence in Honorable EJ that it will get done. But it's just time. It's just time. We just cannot continue to wait forever and wait so long. We need to see more. We need to see more action when it comes to the government day of businesses. I mean, we are in 2025, and we should not be back living like we back in the 80s. And even the 80s things was better than what we're going through right now. So I'm looking forward to see the changes that will take place. Now, I already talked about banking, but someone made a comment about certain checks, and that is so true. It seems like I have never tried with First Caribbean, but at Scotiabank, when you deposit a government check through the ATM, it doesn't accept it. It comes back out and it says that defected. It defected, so you don't get it. And then I deposited a British Turks and Caicos banking check. Turks and Caicos, over the weekend, and that was rejected. So I don't know if it's the size of the paper. I don't know, but that's another thing. And so now the bank doesn't want you to come in and make deposits to your business account. They want you to use the ATM or you use the drop box. Now, what I do like, I will say this about Scotiabank. I cannot say the same thing about CIBC. When I recently opened a bank account for one of my businesses, and they give me a debit card. So I can use the debit card to make the deposits through the ATM. I do like that. That's a very good feature, because at least it goes on your account. However, the challenge is if you get a check from the government or you get a check from Turks and Caicos Banking Company, they're not accepting it. And so now you have to go in the bank, and they have to take it because, the ATM is not taking it. And so I'm glad that person brought that point up. That needs to be fixed. I don't understand what is going on, but that needs to be fixed. So we talk about the banking. We talk about the innovation ministry, which I'm looking forward to. Hopefully by the end of December, we should see a transformation in the way we do business in Turks and Caicos in the public sector. I believe by the end of December. We have to give them time. Everything takes place. Everything takes time, and so we're giving them time. Now, the next presenter for this seminar is the health. Dr. Darren Hall will be a speaker on Friday, giving his perspective on the health industry in Turks and Caicos Islands. I think a lot of you know by now how I feel about the health industry. We are spending too much money on our health industry. And I understand that people are unwell, they're not feeling well, and so we have to spend the money. We have to send people abroad, no doubt. And, it doesn't matter how much something costs. If you can save somebody's lives, it's very critical. But at the same time, we have two gigantic, built two humongous, let me use humongous, buildings, one in Grand Turk, and we have one in Provo, right? These two hospitals, they're owned by the government, but it's managed by, InterHealth Canada. We have these two major hospitals, and we still are sending people abroad. I get it that they're not a tertiary level institution. I get it. But I honestly believe that more services can be done locally. And I believe the country can save a lot of money. Imagine you sending someone abroad and you're staying there for such a long time. You're away from your family, and sometimes family members only go there, for a day or two, and then they have to come back home because they have to come back and work. I believe, and I'm looking forward to Dr. Hall's presentation, I believe that more can be done locally with our health services. More can be done, and we can save a lot of money, and we can save a lot of lives. But it's so easy, right? It's so easy for the hospital to just say, send them away. It's easy. Well, obviously, if they cannot perform the service. And I also think that the government, because of the relationship I may be wrong. But because of the relationship that the government has with Intel Canada, I feel like they don't want to spend any more money on the hospital. They don't want to spend any more money. And I challenge the government, right, that it shouldn't be about the hospital. It shouldn't be about the relationship with Intel Canada. What it should be about is the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands. That's what it should be about. The people of the Turks and Caicos Islands. Rather than people having to go away, if we could invest more in the hospitals, we could save lives and save time. That's what matters. It shouldn't matter that your relationship is a breakdown, the relationship with Intel Canada. It shouldn't matter you spending more money. You're going to spend the money anyway. Wouldn't you rather spend the money here locally than to spend the money abroad? That's all we're saying. Invest more in the hospitals here so we can be here, get the treatment here. Do more on educating the public on the prevention of health. A lot of times, to be fair to the hospitals as well, a lot of times, most of us are already very sick, and we end up blaming the hospital for our problems when we're already sick. We're not taking care of ourselves. We're not getting checkup. And so we can't really blame the hospitals. That's the truth, okay? So I'm encouraging you to come out on Friday to listen to the health industry. That's Dr. Hall. The next thing, right? The next thing, I'm just reading the comment. That's why I laugh. The next thing that we're going to talk about, I keep saying we. The next thing on Friday we're going to talk about is the infrastructure. The Minister of Infrastructure and Planning will be one of the speakers at this seminar on, and we want to hear what exactly is going on. We want to hear what exactly is happening with the airport. Nobody can tell us anything about this project. What exactly is going on? Something is going on because there's nothing in the budget for the new airport. I know it's a PPP project, but still the government will put a portion in as well. There's nothing in the budget for the construction of a new airport. Do you remember 2 years ago, there was a big talk about this project, $450 million, where we're going to build a new airport. We have all these nice facilities. And now you don't hear anything. The only thing I saw or heard during the speech, I think was about $90 million allocation that the government will be putting in place to expand the existing airport, 90 million. You know, aren't we tired of using Band-Aids? Aren't we learning now from the mistakes that we've made with the existing airport? We just keep adding a little piece, adding a little piece, adding a little piece. And I understand we need to do something on a temporary budget, on a temporary basis. I understand that we need to do something on a temporary basis because right now, the situation with our airports is that we cannot accommodate all of these flights. We cannot accommodate all these passengers. And so we have to do something temporary. But rumor has it that the project to construct a new airport is being put on hold. To $450 million, we already got approval from the British government to proceed. We already got approval. And if we already got approval to proceed, then we should proceed. People spend millions of dollars, I understand, to submit tenders. And it was reduced, I understand, to 5. And now I'm hearing that it's not going to happen anymore. We have not heard that from the government. And I'm throwing this out here today to ask the government to tell us what exactly is going on with the airport. Not the existing airport, the new airport, the airport that was proposed, the airport that was going to cost $450 million. What is going on with the airport? Tell the people the truth. We need a new airport here on the island of Providenciales. We don't need to keep adding little piece, little piece, little piece, little piece, little piece. No. And I encourage the viewers and the listeners to hold your MP accountable. Tell us what is going on. It's going to take about 3 years to build. So I know that we need to do a temporary measure. I understand that. We need to do a temporary fix, right? But we need a long-term fix. a long-term fix. We need a new airport. We need to know what exactly is going on Providenciales. Not only the airport, we need better roads. Our roads are in a chaotic state. Our roads are full. We have so many vehicles. We have so many, the roads that are not smooth enough. We still have a lot of potholes, patches. We need, the Leeward Highway needs, throughout the Turks, every island needs their roads to be paved. What is the plan? Will this be discussed at this conference on Friday? We'll find out. Even if it's not discussed, I am challenging you, to those of you who registered and will be attending this conference, to ask the minister to provide us with an update on the airport, to provide us with an update on the airport, on the roads, the airports and the roads, to provide us with an update on the parks, provide us what was really happening. Okay, so we have the health, we talk about health, we talk about innovation, what else? We talk about infrastructure, and I think the next, of course, the health, there'll be someone from Doctors Hospital that is going to be a speaker, and I know that the hospital in Cayman Islands that we normally send our patients to, Health City, is my understanding that they also bought some shares into Doctors Hospital in Nassau. So that's very interesting, very interesting, because it seems like we are sending a lot of our patients to the Cayman Islands rather than to the Bahamas like we used to do before. We're also sending a lot of individuals to Colombia. So it's very interesting that that Health City also has shares in Doctors. I'm not sure how significant the shares are, but there's some partnership between Doctors and Health City, and so that's very interesting for us as well. We send people there anyway. We don't go to the Bahamas like we used to. I'm not sure why. It's my understanding that it's more expensive than the Bahamas. I don't know. But I still believe that, as my point mentioned earlier, that we don't need to be sending a lot of people abroad. I believe a lot of stuff. And I know during the budget hearing, the Premier mentioned the acquisition of a building where it will be, I forgot what word they used, providing multiple health services. I'm not sure where we are with that. So we need to change the way we do businesses here when it comes to health. Not only the way we do businesses with health, the way we do business with everything we need to change. Okay, we need to change the way we do things everywhere in our country. So what else we talk about? The banking, the health, the cost of living. The acting premier, the Honorable Jamal Robertson, he will be giving the keynote speech at this conference, because the Honorable Premier Washington Mizik is out of the country, and so acting premier Mr. Honorable Robertson will be giving. And so we want to hear more about the cost of living. And I get it. I get it that the cost is going up everywhere. I get it. It's not just Turks and Caicos. It's everywhere. But we want to feel. We want to feel the impact of the duty exemption. We want to feel. Or we want to see a reduction in the prices. We want to see what's going to deal with the housing crisis. The rent is for long-term rental is suddenly out of proportion right now in Providenciales. We have never seen rent so high like this in the history of the Turks and Caicos Islands. It is so high. And I don't know how some people make it. I don't even know if some people have roof over their head. I don't know if some people, I believe some people are probably living in their vehicles, because I don't see how people could afford to pay for the rent that they're paying. Or they're probably living with people and they just maybe so many people living in one, maybe 8 people living in a one-bedroom apartment. I don't know. I just don't know how people are doing it. And we need help. We need help. We need help. And so on Friday, ask your questions. I know we do not like price control, but there's some things that the government have to do. They have to put in some temporary price controls. Somebody needs to get the message out there, and it's not happening. And I know we are market driven. I know we're doing that, but even countries where we are market driven, there are some elements in their country where there are price controls. It doesn't have to be everything. It doesn't have to be everything. Some things we need to put in place for certain categories, and the housing is one of them. We're going to hear an update on the housing, because a year ago, you remember, we were told that we have this program in place. We were told that by November 2024, we will receive the first application for the housing. Okay, now we're on to November 25, and I'm not aware of anything happened. We want to hear these things. It's your opportunity to speak out, ask questions, because if the government is quiet and not saying anything, and even if they're doing something, not to criticize them, but not to negatively say anything about them, but even they're doing something, but if they're not saying anything, we do not know. So the only way you can know if you ask questions. And so Friday is your day at this conference to ask questions. Don't ever feel like the question you ask is irrelevant. Don't ever feel like the question you ask is dumb. Don't ever feel intimidated when you walk into that room, you see other people who seem to be more intelligent than you, or don't ever think that way. There's something inside of you that you are just as good as anybody else in that room on Friday. If you want to know the answers to some questions, you need to ask them. Just no way, you don't need to be shy. And if you're shy, then give the moderator your question, whoever's moderating the event. But it's important for you. It's important for you to ask questions. It's important for you to not only ask questions, it's important for you to speak your mind and also provide advice or provide solutions. What do you think? You see, the thing is, right, when we elect individuals, somehow most people feel because they're elected, they know everything. That's the vibe I get. They know everything. And then sometimes we as individuals, we also feel like our parliamentarians must know everything, and they don't. Some of you know more than them. And so if you know more than them, share your information with them. Give them advice. And that's why I write articles. I write articles, to educate and to give advice. You do the same thing. The only way that we can move forward in our country if we come together and we work together. We put aside this PNP and PDM thing and come together, work together. And that is what I want us to do. We are in 2025, and what we're going through now, we should not be going through. Cost of living is above the roof. Crime is out of hand. Okay? Our health, we have a health crisis. We have a housing crisis. We got a crime crisis. We got crisis everywhere. Crisis back and forth. Crisis there, crisis there. You could write a song. We are under crisis in Turks and Caicos. Of course, some people may say we're not, but we are under crisis. And we need to get it under control. We need to fix it. And we can fix it if we come together, share our ideas, and hold our people accountable. And that can be done. It's been done in other countries. It can be done in Turks and Caicos. So remember to register on Friday for the Turks and Caicos Business Outlook. It's online. It's on Facebook. I think it's $75. They have different tiers, I believe. I believe the cheapest is $75 if I'm not mistaken. Register online. The event is on Friday. It's an all-day event. Lunch will be provided. It's at the Palms Resort in Grace Bay, and so let's show up in numbers. Let's show up in numbers, and let's head out, and let's hear what's happening in our country. And I encourage those politicians who are going to be speaking there to don't leave anything undone. Don't assume that we know. Tell us the truth. Tell us everything that's going on, especially the airport project. Tell us what is going on. Because if you don't tell us anything, we get very suspicious. And to those persons in the private sector, from the banking industry and the health industry, share with us what is going on. Tell us what you have done different from last year or what you plan to do going forward. We need an improvement. We need a change, and the change starts with all of us. So thank you for watching Financially Speaking. I'll be back next Tuesday, same time, 11 a.m. Have a great day. In fact, have a great week. Thank you.